All right, everybody, let's get started. Welcome to Thursday. What are we? April 2nd. Groundhog Day, same as it was 2 weeks ago. But I'm so glad that you all joined me today. We're going to have a good time today. I am in the middle, and we have a special reading today from my good friend Lorraine. She offered to do one of the readings today, so I'm very excited about that. And I don't know whether to let her go first or let me go first. I mean, it's my world, right? I get to choose, but I don't want to. I think I'm going to let you go first, Lorraine, because your reading may be enough and I don't need to read. And I don't want to read something that offsets yours in any way or collides with it. So what I think we should do is let you open us with the reading, and then we will go from there. How does that sound?
Sounds wonderful. I'm
Okay.
good.
All
Ready?
right. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Good morning or good afternoon, whichever applies to you. From me here in Central Illinois. My reading today is from a book called Your True Home by Thich Nhat Hanh, who is a well-known Buddhist monk and teacher. And this reading really spoke to me as I read it, and it's called Flowers and Garbage. Flowers and garbage are both organic in nature. So, looking deeply into the nature of a flower, you can see the presence of the compost in the garbage. The flower is also going to turn into garbage, but don't be afraid. You are a gardener, and you have in your hands the power to transform garbage into flowers, into fruit, into vegetables. You don't throw anything away because you are afraid of garbage. Your hands are capable of transforming it into flowers or lettuce or cucumbers. The same is true of your happiness and your sorrow. Sorrow, fear, and depression are all a kind of garbage. These bits of garbage are part of real life, and we must look deeply into their nature. You can practice in order to turn these bits of garbage into flowers. It is not only your love that is organic, your hate is too. So you should not throw anything out. All you have to do is learn how to transform your garbage into flowers.
Oh, that's good.
I thought that applied to our current situation that our globe is going through.
Yes, that is awesome. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. Other than that, how you doing?
I'm doing, I'm
You
doing
are.
great. You do it day by day, right? Don't get ahead of yourself. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm working on. Just trying to stay in the moment.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Lorraine. I appreciate that. Flowers and garbage. Wow, that's an awesome perspective. To follow that up, I think I will read what I found today because I think it applies. I'm anyone that follows me on Instagram probably saw this. I'm reading this #1 book right now that everyone's talking about, and I wanted to hate it because that's like how I am. I'm like a contrarian. I'm like, oh, everyone likes this book. I don't want to like it. I'm not going to like it. I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to hate it. I don't hate it. I love it. It was really good. I've got like 10 pages left that I'm waiting to finish when I have a moment. But a lot of aha moments in this book for me. And speaking of flowers and garbage, this part was particularly just mind blowing to me. And especially in this time that we're in, which is like, what is this time? You know, it's a time to be buried and to come back better than before. It's a time to just be buried and stay down. I mean, what is this? Oh, this book is Untamed by Glennon Doyle. It's like literally the #1 book, I think, right now in the world or something. Glennon, Glennon, Untamed. But this passage really spoke to me. It's a little lengthy, but I think I'll read it anyway. And then after that, we'll do a quick meditation, and then we will speak with our special guest today. So this is from the chapter she calls Feel. In the past 18 years, I have learned 2 things about pain. First, I can feel everything and survive. What I thought would kill me didn't. Every time I said to myself, I can't take this anymore, I was wrong. the truth was that I could and did take it all, and I kept surviving. Surviving again and again made me less afraid of myself, of other people, of life. I learned that I'd never be free from pain, but I could be free from the fear of pain, and that was enough. I finally stopped avoiding fires long enough to let myself burn. And what I learned was that I am like that burning bush. The fire of pain won't consume me. I can burn and live. I can live on fire. I am fireproof. Second, I can use pain to become. I'm here to keep becoming truer, more beautiful versions of myself again and again forever. To be alive is to be in a perpetual state of revolution. Whether I like it or not, pain is the fuel of revolution. Everything I need to become the woman I'm meant to be next is inside my feelings of now. Life is alchemy, and emotions are the fire that turns me to gold. I will continue to become only if I resist extinguishing myself a million times a day. If I can sit in the fire of my own feelings, I will keep becoming. Numbness keeps us from becoming. This is why every great spiritual teacher tells us the same story about humanity and pain. Don't avoid it. You need it to evolve, to become, and you are here to become. Like Buddha, who had to leave his life of comfort to experience all kinds of human suffering before finding enlightenment. Like Moses, who wandered 40 years in the desert before seeing the promised land. Like Wesley from The Princess Bride, who said, "Life is pain, Highness. Anyone who says differently is selling something." Like Jesus, who walked straight toward his own crucifixion. First the pain, then the waiting, then the rising. All of our suffering comes when we try to get to our resurrection without allowing ourselves to be crucified first. There is no glory except straight through your story. Pain is not tragic, pain is magic. Suffering is tragic. Suffering is what happens when we avoid pain and consequently miss our becoming. So good, so good. And I loved, sorry, there is no glory except straight through your story. I wanted to quote that accurately because that is the truth. I have written that time and time again. The only way out is through. The only way over is through. The only way through is through, is through, is through. That sometimes that really sucks. And I was really moved by that, thought I would share it. And yeah, so that's where I'm at today. I woke up in a funk again. This is day 2 of funk. So I am very glad to be meeting with you all today. It's great. This really is a joyful part of my day. And I'm very excited about our special guest today. Crystle Lampitt is here. So Crystle, I met her about a year ago. I was on KC Live. We have a mutual friend, Britt Frank, who you guys know I've had several times. So welcome, Crystle. How are you?
Thank you. Oh my gosh, all of those passages are just hitting home right now for me. I'm doing great. I feel so much more connected right now because I've also been in a funk. And, you know, I'm hearing that so much as I've started to see therapy clients. I'm a clinical MSW or Master of Social Work student right now, and I'm in my internship at a therapy office, and just that word funk is getting thrown around a lot. And I totally relate. So everything that you guys just shared and read really resonated with me, and I'm just so thankful to be here. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah. And what is it? Is it just, it's like the period of time, you know, I've been cooped up for 3.5 weeks. And is that just the time that you're like, I can't do this anymore? And then I read that. Well, of course you can do it because, like, in reality, this is not that hard. You know, let's really put this. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm here in my home with running water and electricity.
You have to sit on the couch.
Sit on the couch
and eat snacks.
and eat snacks and work out in my gym that I have, like, for me. But I mean, at the same time, like, this is a feeling, and it is real. And I know we have so many things we can talk about. So why don't you start by telling a little bit about your story, like who you were, where you came from, and what you're drawn to, and kind of where you see everything going, because everything changed for you in the last year, really.
Everything has changed like crazy. And it's been such an interesting journey. I mean, I was hosting Kansas City Live, which is our local morning show here in Kansas City, for a couple years, and it was really definitely my dream job. I got my degree in my bachelor's in film and media. Really wanted to work in the documentary filmmaking space or in the journalism space, and was really kind of feeling like, okay, I've got my dream job. And I also started a graduate program at KU to study trauma therapy, and that has been mind-blowing as well. So it's kind of funny because 2020, everybody came into this year, and myself included, saying like, 2020, it's going to be my year. I got this. I'm going to, blow things up in my career. And I really felt that way because I genuinely was finally feeling kind of aligned. I was doing this segment on Kansas City Live called Mental Health Minute, where I was finally getting to use my platform for what I wanted to use it for, which was a lot of mental health advocacy and talking about trauma and talking about these topics and connection and vulnerability that were so important to me. And I thought, how can I make this have a place on a morning show? And so I started this segment called Mental Health Minute, and, got such great feedback from it. And I remember doing a podcast that end of 2019, beginning of 2020, and just really being on this high, like, you know what? I finally feel like my worlds are coming together. Everything is aligning, my values, and I'm getting to do what I really want to do, which, is spread this message about mental health. Because as much as I love being on a morning show, a lot of what we did was, we got to interview amazing authors, activists, actors, artists. We got to really expose people to so many cool leaders in our area, but there was still something missing for me, and that was sort of the mental health aspect. So once I got that in there, they canceled the show. So I just kind of had to well, there goes all of my plans. And it was so abrupt. I mean, I had literally just
I had sent you an email. I said, hey, Crystle, I'm kind of come back to Kansas City. Yep. I want to come back on the show because I got this new book. And that I actually pulled my book over because when you said 2020 was going to be the year, of all the things we're going to do, I was like, yeah, at least you didn't write a book called The Year of No Nonsense. And then we have this going on. Like,
totally
this is irrelevant. Bargain bin.
Right. Yeah, that's gonna go in the $5 bin now.
$5 bin, but hey, at least it's in some bin. But yeah, I had emailed you like, hey, I want to come back, and you were like, hey, they canceled the show yesterday. I was like, show then no show. So I mean, what did you? Is it in hindsight? Is it one of those? It's probably still too close to you though. I mean, are you still too close to it to be like, oh, it's a blessing in disguise? It's too close.
No,
right?
not at all. I definitely pretty quickly. And here's the honest to God truth. So I've been in my graduate program for over a year. And I came to mental health. I should have come to mental health a lot sooner. I wish I would have discovered therapy way earlier than I did. I had a lot of trauma and I had a lot of stuff to work through. So doing my own work helped me to realize, oh, wow, this is what I wanted to do. I really wanted to help people. And I was doing that through my television and media work. Loved being involved in the community, loved doing fundraisers, animal shelters and cancer fundraisers. I mean, I felt very much like I'm doing the things, but there was still something missing. And so I did feel kind of, because of all the work that I've done, when the rug got pulled out from under me, I was kind of like, you know what? I am working 14 hours plus a day right now. I would get up, I would do my makeup on the way to work. Not safe. Don't do this. Don't do that. But I had to be camera ready, right? So.
And you did camera ready makeup in the car? Mm-hmm. That is impressive.
Again, not a good idea. Don't try this at home or in the car. But I felt I was under so much pressure because every morning, no matter what I was going through, and I was going through a lot, I had to show up on TV and smile and say, good morning, Kansas City. And I hope you're all great. And I'm going to put on this perky face for the next hour. And it got harder and harder because not only was I burning myself out, I would work a typical 8 or 9 hour day. And then I would go straight from the station to my internship, which is at a therapy office called Resolve here in Kansas City, and loved it. I got to start seeing clients almost immediately, but I would work from there from, 5 until 9:30 p.m. And then I would do all my notes, and I'd be up until 10 or 11 p.m. working on client notes. And then the next morning I would do it all again. I'd be up at 6 or 7, and it just was exhausting. So when the show did get canceled, there were options. So I kind of had a choice where there could have been other opportunities for me to pursue at the station. But I was really faced with, how long can I do this 14-hour plus a day business before I get burnt out and maybe don't even like therapy anymore? Like,
And then where will you be?
And then what? So
Yeah.
so I've definitely come to that blessing in disguise, but I still miss it a lot. My biggest thing has been just the people that I work with. And then it just felt like one thing after another, right? It was like, okay, so 2020 not happening quite the way I expected it to.
Year
And-
of total nonsense.
Yes.
Fine.
And now here we are, essentially on lockdown, and I can't even leave the house. I mean, so it very quickly, it's strange now because these fears around, okay, not having an income, unemployment, that's very scary. Being a grad student and not having an income, I forfeited tuition reimbursement and that sort of thing that I was getting through work benefits. It's a very scary place to be. And at the same time, I'm now seeing other people go through it on some level, which I would never wish on anyone. However, through all of this icky stuff, there is a sense of community and belonging and universality associated with it that in some way, in a small way, has been comforting, because I know I'm certainly not the only person whose routine was completely thrown for a loop, and enter, the funk that I've been in for the last few weeks too.
I can't figure, the thing that drives me crazy is usually I can pinpoint the funk. And I feel like this funk is almost an empathetic funk. Like everything in my world's fine, but I feel like I'm starting to absorb the pain. Like how, like powder, was it powder that absorbed people's pain? Like, and I'm also getting equally. But I'm starting to feel that, like, maybe that's what's bothering me, because I have guilt that I'm okay, but so many people aren't. And I don't know if that's the funk, because really, what else is wrong? Or
Some
am I that
guilt?
like, am I that fragile that I'm disrupted by a routine, or am I just annoyed that people are in my business all the time now? At least, like, the husband used to go to work and the kids went to school, and I'm like, no, everyone's somewhere.
Your little bubble's been disrupted.
Bubble.
It's interesting, and I'm hearing that a lot. So I've luckily been able to switch all my clients for my internship over to telehealth, and I'm hearing everybody say some version of this. Almost everybody say some version of, I just feel off and I just don't feel like myself. And some of it, absolutely, it's the change in routine, right? We love routine. Our bodies love routine. From a trauma perspective, looking at this just from a psychobiological standpoint, we want to be productive right now. And I'm seeing a lot of people say, I feel blah and kind of lethargic, and I don't want to do anything. I want to sit on my couch and eat chips, and I want to stare out the window. And that's not like me. I'm usually productive and busy and extroverted. And when you look at, first of all, from a social standpoint, a lot of our social supports have been taken away, at least in the physical sense, right? We can connect, and I love that we're doing this, and we should be taking advantage of Zoom and all the digital ways we connect as much as possible. It's not quite the same. It's not the same as going and getting a coffee with a friend, or being able to tune in, because our nervous systems also co-regulate each other. And so without that, I'm like, can we do a study on this somehow? With like, how do the nervous systems go across, distances like this?
Right.
I don't know. So I think the technological barrier is real. It's still useful, but it has its limitations. And then also seeing, from, again, when we want to be productive, we want to be rational, we want to use our thinking brain. That's the newer part of our brain, which is the prefrontal cortex, that doesn't even fully develop until you're mid-20s. So it's the newest part of our brain that has the least amount of practice, and it goes offline as soon as our amygdala, which is part of our nervous system that's meant to detect threat. As soon as the amygdala is activated, this part's going to go offline, and all those rational thinking, you know, like when you're getting attacked by a bear, you're not thinking, let me problem solve and learn math, you know?
Right,
And
right.
so we see this in trauma so much, especially with kids who come from abusive households. They really struggle with learning because their body is going through, it's still undergoing threat if they're triggered in some way. So, and even, you know, knowing that, a lot of us are kind of in the same boat as you, where we're saying, well, I have supplies, you know, I'm not terribly affected. I have a home, I'm safe, my family is safe. Even still, even being able to sort of cognitively understand that, there is going to be a part of our nervous system that is under threat, a very real threat, which is a pandemic. It's also picking up on other people's nervous system dysregulation, the panic of other people hoarding toilet paper, hoarding, you know, supplies, and freaking out and knowing, oh, well, my uncle got the disease and he's in the hospital. And so whether it's sort of at the forefront of our mind or not, whether we're seeing it as, you know, am I really worried I'm going to get sick or not? Just understanding that there is other people's panic. And then our social support, which is such a protective factor for stress and trauma and PTSD, all of those things have been removed. And so we're kind of left in this weird microcosm of a world where it's just like quarantine life. So it kind of
QL,
QL,
quarantine
you know?
life. Yeah.
So cool. So even, you know, so that not being able to be productive, I completely understand it. And my brain has been so scrambled. I've let so many things fall through the cracks. I've been like unable to retain information, and I'm about to do a really intensive trauma training. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to do all the meditating first. And,
Right.
but when we ultimately, like you were saying, you know, we kind of, the only way out is through, we want to bypass our nervous system, right? We want to bypass our reptilian brain, and we want to go, I don't care, nervous system, just chill out. I want to go straight to my rational thinking brain and get my to-do list done because I got projects to work on. Well, unfortunately, we can't really do that without helping ourselves to feel a little bit safer first. And so again, when we are activated, that fight, flight, or freeze response comes in. And so that's where the freeze, you get the lethargy and the kind of out of it and kind of, oh, what is going on? Some people are feeling really manic and they're like OCD cleaning. And I'm like, I'm swinging between both. I've Lysoled things in my house. I'm like, no one's even here.
Right.
Like,
I know. I watched my husband today. The Amazon delivery guy came outside, delivered way away from the door. He goes, gets the package, comes in, wipes it down, and then he goes and wipes down like everything outside. and I don't say anything. I'm just watching it. I'm watching like him wipe the doorknob, and I'm like, this is interesting. This is my scientist, my PhD husband, who knows where the germs are. You know what I mean? Like. And I'm watching it. I'm like, we've lost our minds. We're all
Lysoling the Lysol. I totally did that the other day. I used Lysol on the outside of the Lysol because I'm touching the Lysol the most.
Right.
And you're supposed to wipe down the surfaces that you touch the most.
Right. And you know, like with the you referenced trauma, and I think trauma is so fascinating. Like, I mean, such an interesting subject because it is new to me. I did not realize trauma was a thing. I didn't realize I had trauma until age 38 and a half, and I was trying to pump out a book. And I was like, oh, this is convenient. This is great timing.
Oh, this is a great time for this to pop up.
This is a great time for me to realize that. But with quick, pretty intensive therapy, I realized that my trauma exposed me to complex post-traumatic stress disorder, meaning like in my childhood, I was repeatedly exposed to a trauma, over and over and over and over again from a very young age. And the complex part is I couldn't escape because it was my home. And so the idea that I cannot escape is constant, like re-traumatizing for me, even though I know I'm safe and things are fine, but that's what I'm feeling. And so I wonder how many of us are not recognizing that connection. Like if we were in a home that was not safe or did not feel safe, and here we are again, like not being permitted to leave, like if that's the low like thing that's kind of no, you know, I feel like that may be part of it for me.
that lack of choice, you know, also just not realizing, because so much of, you know, and I think Britt talks about this a lot too. I love picking her brain about this stuff too, because she's been doing it a lot longer. But just that the opposite of trauma is choice, you know, and when we
Right.
think about, as soon as we have choices, suddenly our nervous system can start to relax again, or as soon as we recognize that we have choices, because sometimes we do have choices, we just haven't recognized them. We haven't come to terms with, okay, but do I really? And
So
so
how do we bridge
absolutely.
that here? How do we bridge that here? Because the rational brain, like if
Yeah.
I'm not very good. The
The
back brain,
amygdala.
the
Yeah. The
amygdala,
reptilian
that
brain.
the
Yes.
reptilian brain, if that's telling us danger, danger,
Mm-hmm.
you're stuck, you're trapped, like and you said you can't really like rationalize through
Can't
it.
just bypass.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what do we do? What do
Yeah.
we do?
Yeah. So right now and again, there are limitations with this. For me, what's been really helpful is therapy, you know, EMDR, and I'm studying a model called the neuroaffective relational model, which I love because it includes neuroscience, it includes body, and it includes the relationship aspect of it. And so what I've been trying to encourage some of my clients to do right now, first and foremost, knowing the biology behind it can be helpful, right? Your nervous system is doing its job. So instead of thinking of it as it's just a bit small, maybe helpful reframe, instead of thinking it as my nervous system feels like it's under attack and it's betraying me, it's doing its job. It's trying to protect you. And in so many ways, yes, if those old patterns are getting triggered right now, that makes sense. It makes sense that they're getting triggered. So being able to, if you can detect where it is coming from, like in your case, if it is, you know, oh, this is my childhood, being able to show up for yourself and to show up for your younger self, and being able to provide that comfort and nurturance. And even for me, I'll be like, okay, what does 4-year-old Crystle need right now? You know?
I love when Britt does talk about that,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what age do I pick? And she's like,
Yes.
whatever age is applicable. I'm like, oh
Whatever's coming up.
geez.
Yeah. And it sounds cheesy and it's parts work, you know, but it can help. And sometimes 4-year-old Crystle needs a snack and a nap. And
4-year-old Meredith always needed a snack and a nap. So
yes.
did every age Meredith.
Yep. Oh yeah. It's always healthier.
Big
It's
snack.
healthier coping mechanism than something else, right? Than other things,
Right.
which
Than a smoke.
most of us, as we try to regulate our internal states, we go to addictions, or, you know, and again, looking at what's right with the addiction, not what's wrong with the addiction, what's right with it. It's an attempt to regulate your nervous system, and it's an attempt to regulate an internal state. So I've been kind of even just asking myself, you know, what do I need to feel a little bit safer right now? And just getting it attuned to that. And we're not going to be able to just go, I'm fine, everything's fine, there's no pandemic, you know, but there are small things that you can do, and whatever those self-care activities are for you. And I think you've probably talked about this plenty, but it's that locus of control. What do I have control over? What do I not have control over in this moment? And really being intentional about what your choices are. Because I think when we can start to recognize the choices that we do have, we're taking back at least a little bit of our power. It's not going to be ideal, and we're not going to be all the way there. And that's okay. But allowing whatever comes up to come up, and that discomfort, like right now I'm in a funk, and just being able to say, you know, I'm just kind of in a funk. So this might not be the most productive week. And I guess that it is what it is. And just that radical acceptance, which is really hard.
Radical acceptance. It's radical. And
Radical.
I mean, one of the things that I have noticed about myself when I do wake up in the funk, I have to have communication and correspondence to myself.
Sure.
Like it is sometimes I either write it, like this journal goes with me everywhere. I either write it, or sometimes if no one's awake, I just talk it, you know, okay, Meredith, today we're going to, you feel like shit today. What can we, and the things I have to tell myself are, like you said, noticing the choices, but like I have to lay them out and say, look at your choices today. You can choose to go straight for the pizza in the freezer, or you can choose to thaw out your turkey and rice that you know is going to make your inflammation go down. It's going to make you feel better. Because I mean, I have connected the dots. Sugar, carb, like gluten, processed carbs, they make me brain crazy. Like they impact me in a negative way. And so, but to do that, I have to almost make myself read that.
You're know, like here's a flow chart of all of my various choices
of the facts, you know.
Yes.
And I guess also because I'm not I'm a rational person, but I'm not logical. I'm arty and like, oh well, if this means this, then butterfly, you know? So I have to like write it out. And then
Yeah, that's
when I look
useful.
at it, I'm like, okay, do
Mhm.
you want to feel better by 7 o'clock tonight? Here's a magic formula. Because I know
Wow.
it. I know the magic
Wow.
formula for myself. It requires a huge glass of water. It requires
Uh-huh.
planning my meals, doing my workout, and then
Mhm.
doing kind things for other people. That's the magic formula. By
Mm,
7 p.m., if I do that,
mm,
I'm better, you know? And
mhm,
so
mhm.
creating that magic formula for yourself that you know works, because we all know these things.
Yes.
Not a mystery. We
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah,
this
and
it's
that's
yeah.
helpful too, because just changing that, again, with people saying like, I should be doing this, I should be, but what you're in essence saying is, instead of should, you are changing it to a could. You're saying, I could do this. Do I
Yeah, and
want
we
to
had
choose
a
this or that?
yeah, and we had a want. You said it because I had a guest on last week who said, "Let's get rid of the word should and
Yeah.
replace it with want." And then you said,
Yeah.
"No, I want it to be.
Should,
I
I
want it to feel
could,
better."
I want, yeah, exactly. And people do that a lot, where they're just like, I have all this free time, which free time kind of denotes this idea that there was choice around it. A lot of us are stuck at home without choice. We have to be here. We're under an order to be here. So again, like you said, taking an inventory of, well, what are my choices? And instead of it being, well, I should be cleaning, or I should be working on the yard, or I should be, it's like, I could be. I could be working on the yard. I could be. And because if that's, and ultimately sometimes like even making the jump to want, I'm like, that's not true. And I can't lie to myself.
I
I
don't
don't want
ever
to
want to
work on the,
work on the
I
yard.
never want to work on the yard, but I could, that's an option that's available to me. And it's just anything that you can do to kind of take some of that power back.
Here's
Um,
a question from Ruth. How should your family do with our funk? Okay, do you mean like how should the family deal with our funk? Like the people around us deal with us? How should your family deal with our funk? I think that's what I mean. Like when we're in a funk, how do
oh,
the rest of them deal? They got to deal with
yeah.
their own stuff. Eyes on your own plate.
Hmm.
Stay
Yeah.
in your own lane. I mean, I don't
Yep.
know. That's a good
Boundaries.
question. Just
I
everyone,
think being,
go to your own room.
everybody disperse.
Everyone
Yeah.
disperse.
I mean, that is a great, a great reminder of the importance of boundaries. Clearly making my husband crazy. Yeah. Aren't we all? That is definitely, again, like staying in your own lane and being aware of, I like to practice a lot of transparency and just being super open and honest and owning my part, and saying that I'm just in a funk and it has nothing to do with you. I got to deal with this on my own for a while. And then again, you're going to your self-care activities and what you can do. And yeah, it might be in your room. It might be, I have clients, doing these telehealth sessions from the inside of their car, because it's the only place that they can get away from husband and kids, and it's kind of their lifeline, especially if, like, for my extroverts who are really, really struggling right now, it is hard. And so making that sacred space. I do have an activity that I would like to invite everybody to join.
Let's do it. Is
That
it
that
jumping
might,
jacks? I need to
it's
put on my
not.
diaper, so
You're like, oh, I got to put pants on.
gotta
Ooh.
put pants on. This is a pants-free exercise.
I'm
Let's
wearing,
do
so I'm
it.
taking clients today, so I have my colored shirt on, but I totally have like gym shorts on.
Oh, we keep doing that. My husband and I were watching like CNN or whatever, and they're showing everyone from home. We're like, "What pants does he have on?" We're like, "PJ shorts," because they've got like their suit on. We're like, What are the pants on this guy?"
Yep,
Mine
I'm
are
only
gym
half
pants.
trying. Gym
That's okay.
pants, gym shorts.
Hey,
Yep.
you get an A for effort.
A for
Effort is
effort.
what
And this is all
matters.
anybody's going to see, right? As long as they still
Yeah.
perceive me to be somewhat professional. We're all just pretending.
That's right.
No, I do have, so, and this might just help with reconnecting with yourself, because like you said, we can't make our husband feel less crazy. We can't force anyone to do anything, however, we can take responsibility for our own states, which is that, and being able to own that I'm in a funk, I'm feeling manic, I'm feeling helpless, I'm feeling lethargic. And what I really need right now is to just let this day be not productive. And that's it. And I'm going to try again tomorrow. So if everyone wants to just kind of, you can do this via your chat, or we can, talk to any of you. It's an exercise that I actually got from Gabrielle Bernstein. She did a live version of this on her Instagram last week, and I found it really helpful, because we are in kind of this situation where a lot of us are feeling like we don't have a lot of choices. So it's 4 questions, And I've been starting my day with this to help me get a little bit more centered. So in the first question, I'm just going to put it out to you guys and you can type in your answers, is how do I want to feel today? So typing in, how do I want to feel today? And that can be anything from, you know, just slightly better. I want to feel helpful and connected. Ooh, I love that. Brave and healthy, calm yet energetic. Oh, I like that. Kind of both of those. And I think being calm and centered can allow that energy to flow as well. Let's see, what do I want to feel today? I want to
The
feel
overachiever in
centered.
me wants to make a list.
That might be part of your centered. Amazing. Perfect. Yes.
Like I'm in control. Like I'm running everything.
Like I have choices. Yes, I know. Focused, in control, balanced, control. Yeah. Yeah. So for me, what comes up a lot is centered. And I think centered, balanced, that those kind of, those are related to me. So yeah, naming that, great start. I want to feel centered today. The next question is, and you guys can keep typing these in. The next question is, who do I want to be today? So who do I want to be today? And that can be a loaded question. For me, what I've been sort of hanging on to in this time is, you know, and we identify ourselves in so many different ways. I want to be Oprah. Meredith. You know what? I like that. I've never had somebody answer that in just like a straight on another human being. Who do I want to be today? I want to be optimistic. So I've been saying, from a role perspective, I've been saying I want to be a source of support for others. A great partner. Perfect. My authentic self. Ooh, my authentic self. Yes. I've been saying I want to be a support and a guide for my clients, myself, but Oprahized, a calm center for others around me. Yes, these are so good. A calm center for others around me. Yes, I love that.
Oh, a helper, Rosalind. Calm center for others around me.
Yep, a helper with healthy boundaries. I'm gonna add that in there because we can burn ourselves out, and I get that because I'm a big helper, so that resonates with me. Yeah. So who do I want to be today? A helper. I like that. What do I want to receive today is the next question. What do I want to receive today? So for me, I have a house on the market right now, and it is a pain in the ass. Let me tell you that.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Great timing.
So I want to receive good news about my house. I've been putting that out into the universe every day. What do I want to receive today? A vaccine for COVID-19. Hell yeah. Let's get on that. A rock for myself. So this is who do I want to be? A rock for myself, a helpful source for my clients, a friend to my loved ones. Ooh, Amelia, I really like that. Comfort. So what do I want to receive today? Comfort. Yes. And that goes it's related to that first question. You know, I want to feel comfort. Peace and balance. What do I want to receive today? Love. Oh, that's so good. Comfort from somewhere other than food. Yeah. I'm wondering where that desire for food is coming from, that nurturance, that comfort and love. Yeah, I deal with that a lot too. Food is my, when all else fails, let's get some snacks. Snacks on snacks on snacks. So what do I want to receive today? Love. And this goes along really well with the next question. What do I want to give today? So the last question is, what do I want to give today? And as we all know, love, support, you know, having friends means being a good friend, right? In order to receive, we must also give. So to give support, to give love, and I'm sensing if, you know, some of us are wanting to receive love and connection, being able to provide that too is also going to help get us there. So anybody else with what do I want to give today? What do I want to give today?
That's a really interesting question. I'm like, nothing. I don't want to give nothing today.
And if that's what comes up for you, then now you're aware of it, right? You're not in a place to give today. Because, and that's a good point too, because there is this whole line of thought around just giving from the overflow, right? And until we take care of ourselves first, putting on your own oxygen mask first, we can't really give a lot. I want to give myself a break. I love that. Support within boundaries. Love that. I love the self-aware people typing in right now saying like, I want to give this with this caveat. I want it to be a place of healthy giving, not a, needy, I need to manage your experience. Which then we look into some of those a little more unhealthy dynamics, or unhelpful at least.
Well, and I know someone years ago I think I like lost it online one time. This was years ago, and someone sent me an email. I do that every blue moon. I don't mean to, and then now I'm just quicker to delete it than I used to be.
Yeah.
But someone emailed me and they said, you are in absolute compassion fatigue breakdown. And I thought that was such a great term that I realized when we're in a position to like receive messages and emails and comments, how to help me. What do you think? How do I pick your brain? And you're in that position. I'm in that position. And usually I'm like, whatever, if I can turn myself inside out, you can have what's inside. Sometimes it's just snacks, but there's a real wall. And when I hit the compassion fatigue wall, I hit it hard, and everyone around me better watch out, because then I have no compassion. And so this, I love, Rosalind, I want to give myself a break, support within boundaries.
I want to give myself a break. That came up for me. And also, like you said, sometimes it's, I want to give nothing because I want to give myself a break, because I need a break from giving. And that's so valid. But being able to, so these questions for me, they just kind of help me and evaluate, where am I at right now? Where am I? How giving do I feel right now? And ultimately, if I'm trying to be if I want to be a helpful presence, and I want to be supportive, and I want to be present and show up for my clients, and then I ask myself, what do I want to give today? And I'm like, I kind of want to give nothing. That's going to be really good information for me to work from, in that today's going to be a challenging day to be able to do that. So what can I do to feel a little bit safer, to feel a little bit more comforted or fulfilled in some way, so that I can give from the overflow?
And even if just like you said in the beginning, just naming what you want, who you are, but also what you can't give, to say like, today I feel from my soul I can't give, so I have to put on an act, and that's fine. But if you can't recognize that you're depleted, you don't know that you need to put on an act, and then you act like a crazy person and do things you regret. You know what I mean? And sometimes we have to put on the act, or be honest. You know,
I've even, I've called myself out even in sessions when I do feel like I'm fumbling. Again, part of therapy is the therapeutic relationship and the authentic connection that is happening between you. And it is an appropriate place to sometimes be able to even say, like, hey, I get that. I'm in such a funk too. And if anything, you're opening up that relationship and that connection, rather than when I was, on TV every single day, I couldn't do that. There was no, hey guys, I'm just kind of out of it. I would from time to time call myself out, but there was a level of, you got to have it together all the time. And in that case, it wasn't necessarily compassion fatigue, but it was just inauthenticity that was starting to wear on me, because I would come home depleted, exhausted, and I'd have to, like I said, come onto the show and put on a face for an hour. And I usually could get myself there and do it pretty genuinely, but we all have those days where like, we do not want to perform. And unfortunately, for the most part, that's not really an option. And my overachiever part as well would be like, I don't care how crazy I feel, I'm going to go in anyway. And I'd put on this great show for an hour, and then afterwards I would like burst into tears, or I'd be snippy, or I would just be short with people. And that's that realization of, I don't have a lot to give right now. And you are giving a lot when you're performing, or when you're trying to be there for someone else. So this was just, for me, it was a great exercise in how can I show up for myself today? And it kind of forces you to really evaluate where you're at. And stepping away from giving is, like Lorraine said, sometimes we need to step away from giving. You're absolutely right. And I know, as much as we all want to band together and we just want to keep showing up, there is absolutely something to be said for that compassion fatigue, and being able to accept that you can't be everything for everyone all the time.
Right. No one said you were God. Like, someone told me that. They're like, who said you were God? I was like, oh, nobody. But I have a God complex, clearly, because I'm trying to save everyone today.
Trying to save everyone. Yes. Oh, I know. gotta keep that in check. That's
Well, like yesterday,
tough.
I was in a funk yesterday and today, the last 2 days, and I can trace it. I've had junk food last couple days. I
Ah,
know, like get back to
mhm.
my flow chart for me.
Yeah.
But after I got off the meetup yesterday, like Jarek Robbins on, he was fantastic. He said so much of
Mm,
things I needed to hear. I closed the chat, I took off my glasses, and I just like cried. But it was
mm.
that cry of relief that I felt like a lot of people got something out of it yesterday, because it felt so good, and then I felt good because I felt like the
Yay.
pressure was off of me, because I felt like I wasn't doing so good, and like but at the
Oh,
same time, I accepted the help, you know what I
mm,
mean, and we have to
mm.
sometimes, when we're in those positions of of having the God complex and wanting to save everyone,
Mhm,
we
mhm.
have to accept help.
Yes,
And then
100%. Yeah, and what a great way to even, with your own clients and the people that you show up for, with your kids, with other people, modeling that for them. I keep saying, especially for my clients who have kids who are really, really worried about how this is all going to affect them. Modeling that behavior for them, that I have a therapy session, or I'm going to do some self-care, and mom needs 30 minutes to do this. It is so important, and more importantly beyond that, because we're limited in our social support right now. One thing that came up for me recently was just the importance of showing up for our kids right now, and again, with boundaries, when it feels like you are authentically up for it, because it's really hard to show up, and I understand the challenges with that right now when you're around everyone 24/7. But so many parents who are worried about how this is going to affect their kids, what we do know is that social support, especially coming from a primary attachment figure like parents, social support is so important, and it is a protective factor against trauma and against even things as extreme as PTSD. I mean, going through really traumatic experiences, the studies show, well, after the traumatic experience, what social support was available to you? And if there was emotional support, there was somebody there holding space for you while you process these difficult emotions, the likelihood of developing PTSD symptoms significantly drops. And so right now, being able to, we're not necessarily needing to lie to our kids and say, everything's fine, but that transparency with them, explaining what's happening, answering their questions, and simply being there for them when they do, need to cry or need to be comforted or nurtured. Think about all the things that we're saying, like, I want to feel comfort, I want to feel this. Well, our kids want to feel that too. So being able to just show up for them, and, being able to say, I want to be a supportive mom. Okay, how can I be that? And that's going to be such an important protective factor when we do come out of all of this, that says, hey, because they are not at the age where they can necessarily show up for themselves yet, the way that we try to do for ourselves as adults, but
Yeah.
we can provide that for them. And with friends being, gone, and with all these other supportive factors not at play anymore, like going to school, having counselors, teachers, it is even more important for parents. But just providing that, you don't have to be a therapist, you don't have to be anything, you just have to be mom. And
Yeah.
that's all they need, is just, okay, she's here if I need her help. And she also gets help when she needs it. And
Yeah.
that's just huge.
And we've I don't know where we came up with the idea, but the kids went through Disney Plus and Netflix and picked a bunch of movies that they liked, mutually agreed upon by two children, and they went into a jar, and every night we pick a movie and we watch it. Um, which has been surprisingly wonderful, because I will work for 15 hours a day and I won't
Mhm.
stop, and this is forcing, they're like, it's movie time, and I'm like, okay, it's fine, you
Okay.
can go watch,
Yes. Oof, that's hard.
Inside
Yeah.
Out. It is, but it's
Hmm.
been, and
Hmm.
I feel myself calming down, because I put one on either side of me, and I'm like,
Hmm.
and I feel them calming, and it's calming for me, and it's just like,
Oh,
we've got to self-soothe. We've got
that's
to,
so good.
like,
Yes. Yes.
feel this togetherness and
Co-regulate. Yes.
co-regulate, because I
Hmm.
didn't do a great job co-regulating my son, especially because I had a
Mm.
I had a drinking problem, and I also had a daughter 14 months later, and I
Mm.
know, like, so our regulation is off because I never had any regulation to start with.
Sure. Sure.
So I feel that now, like, it's
Mm.
you can correct this kind of stuff as we go. Like, it's not, your
Absolutely.
kids are, you
Well, they're
can
screwed.
always start over. Yeah, I mean, you can always start over, but it's not
Yeah.
without its work and its consciousness, and you have to show up to
Yeah.
your life every day. And,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be perfect, but that there has to be this theme of, okay, I'm showing up and I'm
Yeah.
gonna freaking do this, because there has to be that mental mindset, I think. Yes, we have
Yeah.
to give ourselves a break too, but if
Mhm.
we can't show up for ourselves, and I think
Yeah.
that's the struggle when people find themselves depressed, or what have you found to be helpful as kind of a trick, like Jared Robbins talked about yesterday, getting a cold shower, just snap
Yes.
change your state. Like, what have you
Yeah.
found helpful to help people kind of, and I don't know what the right terminology is, but like
Shift.
dig themselves out of, like,
Yeah.
you know
Yeah. Shifting. Well, that's, and it, ultimately you decide too, like when is it too long? When is
right.
too much? If I've been in this state for way too long. I love what you mentioned just then, getting in a cold shower. Absolutely. So anything you can do to ground. And I don't know if you've ever heard the 5 4 3 2 1 exercise, which is super simple, but it's 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. So those are great for literally people with PTSD who need to come back to the present for out of a flashback or something like that. But even just for everyday grounding and trying to remind ourselves of where we are here and now in the present, not being worried about the future, not being, stuck in our ruminating thoughts. Grounding. And that's probably why the cold shower, part of why that works, is because it's your senses. It
Yeah.
is really forcing you to engage in your senses.
Can
And
you
so,
tell me what those were again? You said, I
yeah,
know one was taste, because I was like,
5.
number one.
Yes. So 5 4 3 2 1, and it doesn't even have to be in this order. It's just your 5 senses. But I usually
Oh,
do 5 things you can see,
see.
4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and then 1 thing you can taste. So that's the order that I usually do it. Or sometimes an even simpler exercise is just pick 5 blue things in the room, and I'll have clients, if they are in a very activated state, either a contracted, depressed state or an activated state. Again, we're just grounding and we're just trying to co-regulate. It's easier with somebody there with you to kind of, walk you through this a lot of times. That's why it is hard to do this alone. It is possible, but it can be, it takes practice. But 5 things in the room that are blue, and it's like, okay, the wall, your shirt, that shoe, and being able to really just be present with ourselves, which again, easier said than done. I like what Lorraine wrote here. My dogs co-regulate me 100%. Whatever and those are called resources. So things that for you are helpful. Resourcing is another technique that I'll use if somebody is very activated or just kind of blah. Literally thinking of, when was a time that you felt expansive and alive and for some people it's been a long time. I mean, honestly, and that's okay. For some people it's like, I remember feeling just like really happy, being as a kid, and we'll just sit with that, and we'll go back and we'll say, okay, so tell me what is it about the lake? And we'll go into some of those 5 senses and descriptive. What can you hear? What can you see? What feelings come up in your body? Because so much of this is just about getting embodied. So grounding techniques, resources, literally naming the things that are resources to you. And for me, my dog is absolutely a resource, because she kind of gets me out of my whatever funk I'm in, and she gives me something else to focus on. So some of my resources are visualizations. Going back to, for me personally, there was a little field in Colorado that the dog I had previously, that she passed last May, she and I went to Colorado and we sat in this field under a tree. And that image became such a huge resource for me, because I could remember what it smelled like. I could remember the wind, and I felt very safe with her. She was a presence that made me feel really safe. And even after she passed, I still would refer to that image in my head, sometimes every morning as a part of my meditation. So just identifying, what are your resources? And it might be tea, it might be a weighted blanket, all of these things, just to help you feel a little bit more in your body. And if you're struggling with that, and if it's scary for some people with really severe trauma, being in their body is really scary. They've done a great job of dissociating and we don't want to force that, right? I mean, we don't want to be like, feel things. It's like, that's kind of overwhelming. So if it is that overwhelming and you're not feeling entirely safe to do that, just notice that and be okay with it. It's called pendulating in trauma therapy. Just, going in and coming out and going in and coming out and not doing too much. And really, I mean, if it's bad, I would obviously seek professional help, because that's where we're getting into the really difficult thoughts. Then I'm like, okay, don't force yourself to do anything.
Right. Right.
And sometimes doing the work is not doing the work. It's just letting things be.
So it was interesting because I had started meditating last year, and then it was going great. And then I kind of uncovered the trauma. It appeared, and then I started trying to meditate and I couldn't. And I talked to Britt about it. She's like, kill it. And then so I started therapy, and then the therapist was a somatic experiencing specialist too.
Yes.
And so he was like, all right, so our first session, I want you to sit and I want you to feel your feet on the chair.
On the ground.
I was like, nope, I'm out. He was like, what? I'm like, no, we're not doing this. And he was like, really? With the feet? I'm like, I'm not in my body. Like, no, danger. And it was crazy. And I still don't like it, but I'm back to meditating, and I can be in my body. I float in and then I like leave for, a little bit, but it's a real thing. I mean, if you can't stand the thought of closing your eyes and feeling clothes on your skin,
and don't do it,
tap out,
absolutely. Yes.
And you will get through it. It just, it takes some work.
You might need some support. And because of the challenging time that we're in right now, you could do it via telehealth. But otherwise, yes, working with a skilled practitioner, just because we don't want to force things and traumatize ourselves even further. I used to have to, on the days that were really bad for me, I would essentially dissociate for the entire hour hosting the morning show. And then it was like I would come back into my body after the show, and that's where just the pandemonium would start. The sadness, the anger, the frustration, and next thing you know, I'm like, okay, I feel like a hot mess. What's going on here? I just dissociated for an hour and put on a smiley face because that's what I needed to do to get through it, and that's okay. Dissociating is useful too, right? So it's a survival strategy.
Well, Crystle, this was awesome. Where can people find you? Like, what's your favorite social media channel?
So I'm mostly active on Instagram. So at Crystle Lampitt, and it's spelled Crystle. My first name is spelled kind of funny. So CrystleLampitt. That's what I do the most of. And then I'm also on crystlelampitt.com. I actually just added a book list finally. And put in all the resources and the books that have helped me so far. There's so many. I've been doing a lot of reading. That's been one really great thing. But yeah, you can check me out on crystlelampitt.com, and that's got all my social media on it as well.
Great. Well, thank you so much, friend. This was great. And I hope when this all settles down, we will connect. So I'm going to come back to Kansas City. I missed you and Britt when I came through. So.
I know.
Yeah.
God, what a bummer. Well, I look forward to that. And thanks everybody for tuning in and playing along. That was fun.
All right. Well, stay safe, everyone. And tomorrow, before you go, Corey Mascara is going to be on here. He's the author of Stop Missing Your Life. We had a really great podcast a couple of weeks ago, so I think that's going to be exciting. So if you can join tomorrow, it'll be good. So thank you.
Thanks for doing this, by the way, Meredith. I think this is such a great idea.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.
All right, friends. Until next time. Bye.